Hey guys, so we are doing this live stream right now to talk about voting, and I'm waiting for vote.org to join so we can have this conversation. But there's already 20,000 people in here, so I felt like I should say hey, even though we're still waiting to have this conversation. I love you guys. I hope that everybody's doing good in these times, and I think it's important for us as the youth to have our voices be heard. So I really wanted to talk to somebody who's really educated on this to ask them some of the questions that you guys have been giving me on Twitter. Some of this. So that's why we're here. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Oh, here we go. Andrea, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Jaden?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this call today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
This is so important to me, and I have so many amazing questions from so many of my fans on Twitter, and I feel like we all have a lot of questions about how we can really make a difference. So, if you don't mind, I would love to jump into some of these questions, and unless you want to kind of explain what vote.org does and what you guys kind of have to offer here.
Sure. I'll explain a little bit about vote.org. Vote.org is a site that simplifies political engagement. We know that people want to engage, but that it's difficult, and that every state administers laws in different ways and around voting, and that the process can be a challenge to navigate. So our site seeks to simplify the process, make it super easy for you to verify registration or register online or request your absentee ballot. The whole point of our job is to make things easier so that everybody can have their voice heard.
That's amazing. I really love that, what you guys are doing. It's so fantastic because there are so many questions and there's so many complicated things that go into voting that it needs to be able to be streamlined so that, we can all know exactly what we're doing and how much our voice can make a difference in this bigger picture. So I'm going to jump in just to some of these questions. First question is, why is it important for young voters to vote? And what happens if more young people voted?
Right. Well, this year it's more important than ever that young people vote. We know that Gen Z makes up 1 out of every 10 eligible voters in the US. And we know that 4 million 17-year-olds are going to turn 18 before this election, making them able to vote. And that on the whole, that this younger generation has a vision for where they want our country to go, and how we're all going to live, what kind of policies that people would like to see get passed. And we know that this is one of the most effective tools to creating that vision and manifesting it in real life. So, first everybody has to have the dream. And then second of all, to make it a reality, you have to step up and participate in the process and make sure you get all the way to the ballot box so that you can hold elected officials accountable. And it's the means by which we can create systematic change in the country and bring about the vision you want to see. So super important that everyone registers to vote and makes it to the ballot box. And we also know that voting is a habit, so it's likely that if you participate this year that you'll participate again in future elections and become a lifelong voter.
Wow, that's amazing. So the next question that we have is, why is 18 the voting age?
It's loading. Oh, you froze on me.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. So the next question is, why is 18 the voting age?
18 is the voting age. It used to be older in the 60s during the Vietnam War. People started protesting, saying that if you're at 18, young enough to fight in a war, then you should be, or you're old enough to fight in a war, you should be old enough to have your voice heard in democracy. And I think that was really important inflection point and moment in time in voting rights of the younger generation. And when the Voting Rights Act was passed in 71, it included the ability for 18-year-olds to participate. So I think people forget that we haven't always had the voting age at 18. You haven't always had the right to vote at 18. So it's really exciting that we do, and that younger generation has a voice.
That really is exciting. That's these questions are just next level. What's the best way to learn what's on your ballot and what's at stake?
You can go to vote.org, and when you're registering to vote, we can also lead you, in some cases, to your Secretary of State's website, and there you can find out more about what elections are coming up and what's on your ballot. You can also do a little research, just like everything else. When you're really getting into something or there's something really important to your life, spend some time looking into it online and look at, go ahead and Google who's on your ballot, look up their positions, make sure they hold values that are the same values you hold, and then go ahead and participate in the process. But it does take, making a plan and committing a little bit of time just to knowing what's going on in your community and the things that are going to affect you and your friends and your family. And so those are some of the best, ways to look up and find out what elections are going on and how to find out who's on your ballot.
Fantastic. This one actually, I really love this next question because I know a lot of people that when we get into a voting conversation that we talk about this. Does my vote matter if I don't live in a swing state?
Totally. Vote matters no matter where you live. As long as you care about what's happening in your community, your vote matters. A lot of local elections actually affect your life and your daily lived experience even more than the presidential election. So it's important for everyone to remember that it's not just about who's president, it's about who your mayor is, and whether that mayor is going to hold the police chief accountable or not, who your DA is, who your local town council is, your school board. All of these things really affect everything that's happening in your community. And a lot of these races across the country are decided literally by a handful of votes. Sometimes one as small as one vote, and sometimes 100 votes. But this, it really makes a difference in how your community is governed and kind of what rules and shared values we're all going to hold as we move forward.
Wow, that's amazing. What are the top three things that first-time voters need to know?
First thing is that, especially this year, we know that there are some extra challenges. So the basic thing is to make a plan, because we know that we may have to face long.
I think you're a little bit frozen on our side. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. I think she got kicked out of here.
Wow.
Hey, I'm sorry. It kept on freezing.
That's okay. I think, technical difficulties in the time of COVID, it's
In
understandable.
Instagram Live, man, it happens sometimes.
Uh,
Yeah,
we were
so we were
talking
on what are the top three things that first-time voters need to know?
First three things are: register to vote. Go to vote.org, register to vote, make sure you're on the voter rolls, check it multiple times leading it up to the election, make sure you're still on there. It takes 2 seconds from your mobile phone. It's not time consuming or anything like that. Just take a couple minutes, register. The second thing is we know that we may face some challenges this year. It's possible that we're going to face historic voter suppression this year. So one of the things that you have to plan for is just how to make sure your voice gets heard. And the best thing to do is make a plan. So block out some time to get to the polls if you're going to go in person. If you're going to request an absentee ballot, do it early. Don't wait till the deadline. Don't get caught off guard at the last minute. We know that without a plan to vote, people can, wake up on election day and then just juggling too many things, and it doesn't work. So go ahead and commit to it now, put it on your calendar, make your plan, and then self-appoint yourself captain of your own friend family, and make sure that you're the one giving them the information they need to go ahead and request their absentee ballot or register to vote. go together if you want to. We know it's one thing when I reach out to you and your friends. It's a whole nother thing when you do it, because people are more likely to vote, and people they love and trust are encouraging them to vote. And so I think it's a huge, part of this is making sure your own house is in order, and then out and organizing your friends and family as well.
So I see someone in the comments here talking now about voter suppression, about if we could talk about that and what are the different forms of voter suppression that we can be expecting.
Some of the forms of voter suppression are more obvious than others. We are seeing poll closures all across the country, and that's very difficult. That means that people will be standing in longer lines because there's fewer places open. One of the things you can do to combat that is to become a poll worker. We need
Yeah, I think we might have lost her again, guys. Man, if you guys have